Welcome to the Unreasonable Life podcast. This is where we get to redefine what's possible and inspire you to create a life that is extraordinary. I'm Dr. Nona, an entrepreneur and author, quantum leap teacher, and founder of Elevate Club and 1 Week a Month Mastermind, a professional life liver, and your guide to living boldly. Every episode, I'll sit down with an incredible guest who has shattered limits, pursued their biggest dreams, and created lives that others have called impossible. Together, we're going to uncover the stories, the strategies, the lessons that will empower you to live your version of that unreasonable dream life. Because the life that you want isn't unreachable. It just happens to be unreasonable. Let's dive in. All right.
Hi. What's happening?
What's going on?
Good to see you.
You too.
Yeah.
So, wow, you flew in all the way from the other side of, first of all, the other side of the world.
Yeah.
You arrived just a few days ago, I think, when you called me.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Tuesday was jet lagged beyond all belief.
Yeah.
Slept through, finally got up Wednesday night, and I'm like, oh man, I gotta go to Cali.
And today you're here,
and
2
today
days
I'm
later.
In Cali. But I'm good. It's
Okay.
well worth it. Yeah.
Good. And my favorite thing about you, can you guess what it is?
No.
It's that you normalize my own lifestyle.
Well, you did the same for me though.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it's like when even when we leave voice memos for each other, it's like, where are you? And I'm flying from here. What's your time zone? Yeah. It's such a normalization of what I want to experience in life. And it's so beautiful.
It was nice to, being very blunt, when I met you, I know some people who kind of live that way a little bit, but not to the extent that I understand that you live that way now.
Yeah.
So when I tell people, hey, I commute from the Mideast on Monday to take my son to school, you just get the blank stare. Yeah. It's like, that's not possible. And I'm like, you sure?
Yeah.
Have you tried it? I do it all the time.
Yeah.
To do. So when you were telling me, I was just like, it's not just me, you know? Mm-hmm. And that feels good. You don't feel so isolated in a way. I get in my own head about the way that I live a lot. Nowadays I don't, because I just don't care
Enough
anymore.
time has gone by.
Yeah. I just do what I do without even second guessing it anymore.
Yeah. I think I'll say this one thing because I feel like you'll relate to this. But oftentimes people are like, how long is this flight to Italy? I'm like, 12 hours. And then they'll go, how often do you go? And I go, once a month. And then they say, what do you do? 12 hours. What do you do? And I start to think, as people ask me that question, one, people who are doing something that's unreasonable, that it's really juicy, that they're not asking those questions. No. And the people who are asking the questions, they don't have enough perspective, because I see people, for example, they'll spend 12 hours in a job that they absolutely hate. They're miserable.
The 6th floor in the cube to the back left for 16 hours.
For 16 hours. Yeah. Or people are doing, they're scrolling through social media for 3 hours at a time. Okay, well, it's 4 of those if you have the right intention on the trip. And then you learn all the travel hacks, right? On top of it. Yeah. So that's why we're here. This unreasonable life, which is what this podcast is about, right?
I know. Yeah.
So tell me the beginning of this unreasonable life. Like you've made some very unreasonable decisions in your life.
They weren't unreasonable for me. So I've evolved, but in the terminology of the podcast and what you do and all that, yes, very, very unreasonable. But in what I now understand to be my inner voice, which I didn't really understand in my 20s and 30s, it was very normal. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what I was trying to tell you, is everything that I've done, you say unreasonable, I say extraordinary. I think our job is to make our unreasonable or extraordinary ordinary.
Yeah.
And I just did it. So
And it can be both, right? Unreasonable and extraordinary. And when I say unreasonable, I mean unreasonable to the average individual living in the matrix. Seems so far away, or unreasonable from a current identity, like where you are outside of that identity.
Yeah, until you realize you're the only one who's going to be with you your whole life, so you may as well just do the shit you want to do. Mm-hmm. It's just, I'm getting even more unapologetic about it nowadays. But so flying from Lebanon to DC for 2 days, to fly here for
half
3 hours,
to
fly right back, to go to my son's swim meet in the morning. We have a small cottage on the water in Maryland. We'll go spend the day there. I'll do 3 days. His birthday's on Wednesday. On Thursday, I'll get back on a plane, go to the Mideast. It's normal. Mm-hmm. It's so normal for me at this point that I do working days for like sleep and all that type of stuff, but it's just normal. Totally. It's just totally normal. Yeah. Unreasonable. So I don't even know where to begin. Where do I begin?
I know.
Yeah.
Okay. Take us back to when you, was there a moment? Okay. So not everybody that's listening, I know your story, but maybe we start there, because you had multiple jobs for a period of time.
Okay. Yeah.
And I also want to know, like, was there a moment of time where you're like, I'm going to do this? This is a decision I'm going to, like, how did it go?
So I try to tell the story this way. From the end. I'm 49. I have 2 beautiful boys. One is 25, one is 12. I am out of the W-2 world as of almost 3.5 years ago. I was 46 then. I could have left when I was somewhere between 35 and 38, but I stayed, and I'll explain that. I live between coastal Maryland and coastal Lebanon now. I've been to 99 countries, maybe 400 times. No, I don't want to see the whole world. It's just how it manifested itself. I'm heavy into real estate. I have a private equity firm. I've tried out for the NFL. Like, it's still as if it was yesterday, but I was an NFL guy. I became a street cop. I was a federal agent. I have acted in TV shows, have owned restaurants. It's been this crazy journey, but that's where I am now. And the way that it started, there are 2 catalytic events in my life, and I talk to my dad about this a lot now. I'm so grateful to him. One, he sent me to France when I was 15, changed my life. And I think I said this at your thing. But he sends me on a 30-day road trip with the family of the kid who stayed with me the previous year. So this is 1990. We travel around France in an old 1983 Range Rover, cute green stick shift Range Rover. And at the time, I was just an inner city Haitian immigrant kid from Boston. I still wear Nike sneakers wherever they are, but Nike sneakers, girls, chains, Michael Jordan. Like, I was just a normal kid. But I was in France, and I'm a French speaker because I'm Haitian. Wine, amazing food, castles. You can take a train to Germany. I went to my first wedding. I went to my first funeral. I had my first kind of heavy crush on a girl. So I was just having all these emotions as a kid, and I'm like, is this what life is supposed to feel like? I wasn't totally sure, and there was no cell phones back then, so it's not like I could get on the phone, talk with my dad, and that was an amazing thing. It just showed me that the world was more than Boston, Massachusetts. That was the first thing. Second thing is, I found Personal Finance for Dummies when I was 21. Passive income was in there. Something came to my mind that said, hey, if you generate income, you can generate income without the physical need to be somewhere. And then everything clicked. So I was like, oh, if I don't have to be somewhere, then I can just make money and then go back to when I was 15 and go do more of these things that made me have all these emotions about, like, it was never a money thing. I've never really chased money. I have a few times, and I paid the price for it. But this whole journey I've on has never been money. It's been all about emotions and relationships and experiencing the world and all that. But that was the 2 events that happened, just like shoved me into this, I'm going to do life very different than I've been told. Kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it wasn't just emotions. It was like the depth of emotions. and a deeper life, if you would, like the full spectrum of like diving in and feeling all the things and being all the things, you know, whether it's your first love, I don't know if it was your first love, but whether it was like deep love, or the funeral, or life in Paris, or in France, or whatever else.
I have really, really come full circle in the past 3 years in that I understand that our job is to wake up every day and be happy. That's the only job we have.
Yeah.
Do things that make you happy.
Totally.
Yes, we live in the world of Caesar. We got to pay bills. We got to do this. And I understand that. But your fundamental job is to wake up and be happy. And where we get all scattered, as you know, is we're taking all society's definitions of things and we're following all this shit that we never even really wanted to do in the first place. We just kind of get into it. That thing at 15, I don't even know if it was happiness. I think I was just so plugged into life. It just woke me up where I think most people wake up in their 30s and 40s. I think I woke up at 15 and I was confused by it.
Yeah.
But as I say now, my inner voice told me, you're going to find experiences and find people. You're going to play football. You're going to try out for TV shows. You're going to travel to all these countries, even if you don't have any money. You are going to work for this corporate entity, which my company I worked for 25 years. The promotions didn't matter. What mattered was leveraging them to go work in Spain, Norway, Sweden, Finland. Hey, Maurice, you're not going to get promoted. It's like, I don't care. I actually don't care. What I wanted was the relationships and the experiences. And I just picked that up very early in life, and it has just kind of driven everything. Yeah.
And at the time, as you're hearing these voices, the inner voice, were you aware that was what was happening? It was like a knowing, I got to try out for NFL. It was a knowing, I got to work for this company. And then later, looking back, you were recognizing it as an inner voice.
So I've been on an inner journey for the past 2.5 years. I feel like we've talked about this a bit. Something happened to me 2.5 years ago. I broke apart, and the only thing I could do was go in. I've never gone in before. I didn't even know what it meant when people say do the work. Because I couldn't build something, create something, buy something, invest in something to solve a problem. I could. Now what I understand is we all have an instinct. We all have an inner voice. We all have source. We all have God. We all have faith. Or whatever you don't believe in. If you don't believe in any of that stuff, it still drives you. You have something. If I look back on everything that I did, all that stuff, at the same time, my inner voice was loud. It was very loud, and society's voice was loud too. And I made a choice. Nowadays, my inner voice is still loud, and I block out society.
Right.
I don't give a shit.
You have the tools.
I have the tools.
Shut it down.
I mental diet my butt off. I don't read things. I don't listen to things. I don't listen to certain people. If I'm in a particular conversation that's steering in a way that I don't like, I got to take a phone call. I've learned how to get away from anything that will get in my mind that will take me away from good experiences and good people. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I wonder if you're comfortable talking about what happened.
Oh, yeah.
2.5, 3 years ago.
I can. It was a particular relationship.
Okay.
It was, I won't go into the relationship, but when it kind of fell apart, I couldn't solve it. And I couldn't understand what happened. So it kind of drove me to look for answers, because I'm like, man, you're a good person. Like I'm not perfect and I make a ton of mistakes, but fundamentally I'm a kind person. And I'm like, what the F is this? That I can't fix this relationship. I can't rewind it. I can't go invest in something. I can't impress somebody. I couldn't. All the things that I knew
how to
Nona, was external. I knew everything external. The police officer, the federal agent, the 25 years at the company, the raising investor money, the 200 million in real estate, the having my kids, and it was all external. And for the first time in my life at age 46, I could not do anything the way that I've always done it to solve anything. And it forced me in. It forced me in. And I'm glad that it did, because now I understand all the things that I told you. And the funny thing is, my dad, who's very religious, I'm not religious. I'm spiritual. I'm very connected, but I'm not religious at all. I think religion skews a lot of things. However, my father is very religious, and I'm grateful for him. And I was having a conversation with him, and we were talking about life, manifestation, relationships, experiences, ask and it is given. And my dad, he shook me. He shook me because he goes, "Oh, so you finally hear me now."
Interesting.
So what he explained to me was that he was telling me what I was learning for decades, but I could never hear him.
Right.
I was so enthralled with Yo MTV Raps and making it to the NFL and let me get this money and let me go chase these girls, and Dad, I need a car. He would always tell me, it's like, none of this stuff is really important. And then finally, when we were having a man-to-man conversation, because if he speaks, I think it's God.
Yeah.
That man, when he speaks to me, I stop. We were having a man-to-man conversation, and he goes, "Oh, so you finally hear me now."
Wow.
Nona, freak me out. And I'm a very steady Eddie dude. Freak me the F out. Because now I could reflect on everything he used to tell me back in the day.
It all made sense.
It all made sense. It was killing me. I had to go home, and I looked at my mom. My mom was like,
I don't know what to tell you. You just had a transformation.
Yeah. It's been a run, but to your point,
yeah,
the way society looks at things, it's my life is very unreasonable and not tenable. Like people don't understand the way that I live at all.
Oh yeah. It's like Daniel and I, the life that we live is, and that's, I love surrounding myself, and sadly far and few in between that are doing what you're doing. So, I find that the universe sort of throws at you the same message in different ways over and over and over again. They look different in different relationships or in work or in the way that you do life or business or whatever, until you get the lesson, until you have that pattern interrupt like you did in your last relationship. And then, and so once you get it, cause you could have made meaning out of whatever happened in the last relationship and moved on, and then be faced with the same lesson again in the next relationship.
Yeah, it'll never happen again.
It would never happen again.
No, it's not possible. It's not possible because the lessons I learned, I was asleep at the wheel.
So what did you learn? What was the lesson?
Man, you have to value people's time, and there's no greater resource than time in this world, and you can take people for granted. You can have your own self-concept that tells you, or look in your mirror and see your reflection that tells you you're a good human. You have, I never forget this. I can't remember who I got this from, but I have a perception of Nona, but I don't have Nona's perspective. I have a perception of who you are and what you do, but I don't have your perspective of life. I don't know where you came from, how you operate, all your limiting beliefs and the things that drive you. I don't know. If you are in a relationship, not monogamous, platonic or not, like a friendship, romantic, family, you have a perception of that person. Instead of taking your perception as the gospel, learn more about their perspective. And even though I'm a very good I know I'm a good person. I know I'm a good person.
Yeah.
I didn't understand perspective that I needed. And because I never took the time to understand that person's perspective, my perception was totally off.
You were blinded by your own perception of her
without really receiving her projection of how she sees the world.
Yeah, and it wasn't necessarily a romantic thing. It was just someone very special to me. But yeah, I couldn't.
Yeah.
Listen, and her cousin told me something that really struck me. He told me, Maurice, I know you, but I don't know you. Now, I had known him 4 years.
Okay.
He's like, I know you, but I don't know you. And that rattled me. And what he was trying to tell me was, like, when you present yourself, everybody knows, like, you've done all these amazing, wonderful things that you do, but that's what people know. But it's all just, it doesn't matter. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter. What I needed to do was go back, instead of like, hey, I'm Maurice, I'm the executive police officer, federal agent, real estate, restaurant owner dude. Where I really needed to come from was from the perspective of that 15-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Who was just like, man, I just want to be connected to life and be connected to people. But I think I got a little bit skewed, and everyone always being like, hey, he's done so much. It's amazing. I started to present myself like that all the time. But honestly, nobody gives a shit.
Right.
Like, it's nice to hear what you've done from a resume perspective, but who are you?
I know.
Who are you?
Yeah.
Who are you? And then, okay, so if you feel like that carries you, and that's your self-concept, like that's your identity, and that carries you and stuff, and you've done all this amazing stuff, and people who care about you are just like, yeah, but that doesn't
make me connect with you deeply.
That's it. That's it. And that's what woke me up.
Yeah.
And again, it's not that I was doing wrong things. It's just I was just coming at certain relationships and people and life from the wrong angle.
Yeah.
And it forced me to, as my friend Rhonda says, fix my reflection. Like, it forced me to have a really hard look at myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can relate to that.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting what you're saying. So from my perspective, how I experienced it is, here are the things I've done. Here's a lot of my identity that's wrapped up in all the things that I have done.
Yeah.
There are definitely many struggles that I have gone through, either moments or series of betrayals by other people, abuse, like just moving to this country in itself is a whole level of trauma, especially at 16. So I've gone through all of those things to get to here, to actually, some part of my ego has, basically created this identity of the successful, this and that and the other, so that I can feel safe and protected and not harmed by the external things. And then it was interesting because at some point I was told in a short period of time by many people, like, why don't you share about your struggles? Why don't you're on social media, you're doing the things. How come you don't share more deeply in the things that you have experienced? And the hardest part for me to, even on my own, like, forget sharing on social media, that's a whole different conversation. But even like inner mastery of understanding the things that I had gone through to pull them out of myself was a big struggle, because part of my identity was to push those things down, which is how I got to where I got to. So it was almost, it felt unsafe to tap into. And when people would ask me on interviews and things like that, it was like, well, I can't really go there. I can't go into the,
you didn't even talk about it. Yeah.
I couldn't even get into the thing that was a struggle, because how did I handle a struggle? Just like any,
you push it down.
Oh yeah. You'd be like, oh yeah, that's what happened. But then I put a positive spin on it and positive bypass into the next level, into whatever would fit this identity of Dr. Nona, who had created that. And then once I started to open up about it, that's when I started to be like, oh, this is what connects me. Like, I started to share my story about, in divorce and what I experienced leaving a, relatively healthy relationship. I started to share about my struggle in postpartum. I started to share, and then it was like, oh, this is what it's meant to be vulnerable. And this is what, you know, I'd always said I wanted deep connections. I'm an INFJ. Have you done the Myers-Briggs?
I don't remember what I am, but yeah, I've done it for sure.
So I'm like very deep. Like you arrived. I didn't ask you about the weather. We were
we went right to it. Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah,
so
I like that.
I like to go super deep, but I couldn't grasp that depth from within myself. It was almost like I'm going deep with Maurice, but I'm really on the surface.
Yeah. I didn't know how to go deep before.
I didn't either.
I didn't. I think I was so, and you know, I think I was so. It's kind of like what I do with the Try Life On thing and society's definitions. All right, this what 20, 30 years of formal education telling you what to be, what to do, where to go. I love saying this, so I want to say it. So we are. When we are in kindergarten, we are as close to source as we can possibly be. We don't really have many limitations yet. We haven't been jaded yet. We eat paint. We eat glue. We throw paint on the walls. I say it all the time. We get to grade school. Compliance starts to kick in. Johnny, take this home. Have mom sign the permission slip. Susie, sit forward. You're not. Then we get into grade school and high school, and it's all competition. Me and Nona are competing for who's going to get in the AP class. And if Nona gets into Harvard and I get into community college, Nona's better than Mo. Who's going to be the valedictorian? Who's going to be the MVP? Who's going to be the prom king, the prom queen? I went to University of Virginia, which is, at least back then, was considered the Harvard of the South. And everybody at my school, which happened to be a private school that my father scraped to get me into, they were all going to Ivy Leagues and things. And everybody was like, why would you go to University of Virginia? And I felt some kind of way about it. Like I guess I'm less than. But that competition thing like translated into the work world. Now me and Nona are competing for the executive VP spot and for the cube on the back left of the 6th floor because it's by the window. Damn.
Yeah.
It's decades of programming. So when I did listen to that inner voice a bit, I didn't know, but I'm gonna try out for football. I'm gonna try this acting thing. I'm gonna decline promotions at work. I'll invest the money in real estate, but I'm gonna decline it in favor of leveraging the job to go get worldwide experience. I started the journey of kind of shedding normal, like I would, you know this, but it was confusing. Like it would be a Thursday. I'd be like, you know what? I'm in DC. I'm gonna fly to Turkey tonight.
Right.
And I would fly to Turkey to read a book near the old city where I used to be in the military and stuff, because I like being by the Aegean Sea. And I would come back, and on Monday, nobody knew that I did that.
It was gone.
And I would just go back to Cube World. And I'm like, this something's off. Something's off with the whole
contrast in itself of what you just described, which is beautiful. I think the contrast is beautiful. It makes you think that's exactly what I don't want, or this is exactly what I need to tap into more of.
But I felt, I feel for him.
The version of you back then?
Because he was doing all these things and he couldn't quite understand why he was doing them. And there was nobody really around
breaking it down
to explain. And the few people who knew were like, that's kind of odd kind of thing. Right. So then I just stopped telling anyone how I was living and stuff. Like I would go to Brazil for 24 hours and come back.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But now it's different. I think the reason why I'm so open about it now is because I just don't care. There's 9 billion people in this world. And if you care what everybody thinks, then you're going to be convincing people for a very long time. Yeah. So I've always been an A personality, but what made me even stronger from being the A personality, think midnight police officer, federal agent guy, like inner city dude. Like can handle myself, right? But what made me even stronger was when I stopped caring. Like I'm not interested. Yeah. Okay, if you want to hear the journey, or if you want to benefit from anything that I've learned, oh my God, I will share my butt off. But if you read something like, why would you do that? You know what I have learned from a mentor of mine? When someone has let's say contradictory energy or whatever, I'd be like, oh yeah. How's your wife, by the way?
Break the pattern.
I just take my energy away from, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
I'm not interested whatsoever. And because of that, I've gotten even stronger as a person over time and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I love that. One of the other things I do is if someone's saying something that goes against something I want to subscribe to, I usually in my head go, for you. Like if they're like, the economy is really bad, I'll be like, for you.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
You know, life sucks for you. Like,
Yeah.
you know, not to project, but obviously that's, they're mirroring that to me and it doesn't belong to me. So it's not like I'm saying it in a mean way.
Yeah.
They're obviously stating it as a fact for themselves.
Yeah.
It just doesn't belong to me.
It's them. And, this is why I've gotten so vicious about mental diets and controlling my environment. I'm not interested in other people's thought processes. Meaning, okay, I love my mom, but this is one of the best examples I can give. My mom is an avid CNN watcher. And I'll never forget, in 2015, I got offered to be the federal special agent in charge of a field office in Izmir, Turkey. And I went to my mom and I was like, Mom, oh my God, they're going to let me run this field off. We had like 9 special agents, and then we were doing stuff with Turkish National Police. And this Haitian immigrant dude is going to be... My mom was like, hold on. And she goes to CNN and looks up baby, you cannot go to Turkey because of this, and this. It's on the Syrian border. And I almost didn't go.
Really?
That 9-month experience in Izmir, Turkey changed everything. Everything. It was on the Aegean Sea, but I went down to Bodrum and Marmaris, which is on the Med. We were doing like protective service, think Secret Service type stuff. We were doing like protective service details and stuff for NATO officials. And I'm on the Mediterranean. I'm just there, and I could feel it. Now I know it's energy, but I could feel it. I'm like, what? Why do I feel this way?
Yeah.
That started my love affair with the Mediterranean. You know, I live there now. When I was in Turkey, I learned about the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus, which is the north side of Cyprus. I subconsciously absorbed it. I've never thought about it since, but in 2020, it came up again because of friend of someone I graduated with. Her husband is Turkish Cypriot. We're business partners now. I'm developing land there.
Yeah.
If I would have listened to my mom, I love my mom. She's my mama.
Yeah.
But this is what people allow themselves to do, is get redirected by opinions. You're never going to live an unreasonable life because what you're doing, the people are putting their fears on you, which makes you feel like, oh, no, let me get back in line. Let me get back in line and do what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
Which is why I don't listen to anybody anymore, unless we're aligned or whatever, which is why I don't watch the news. I have no idea. I didn't even know Trump got elected until like 5 days after he got elected. I had no idea.
Same.
I will not listen to garbage at all. Garbage in, garbage out. It affects you. But you can take control. And you know this. Your outer world is a function of your inner thoughts. And that 15-year-old kid, something happened to him where over those 3 decades when I chased financial freedom through real estate and did all that stuff, I was just having all this stuff through my imagination, which I now believe to be God expressing him or herself through me. And I listened to it. I don't know why, but I did. And that's why I've had this life that I've had. I'm still having this life that I'm having. Yeah.
Well, that resonates with me, not just personally, but also with some of the guests I've had in the Unreasonable podcast, live podcast. I had an Olympian in here just the other day. Jeff Spencer and I were talking, and he said at the age of, now I feel like I'm going to be quoted and it will be wrong. I never remember the numbers, but he was young. He was like maybe 13 or 15 or something. And he decides in his little small town that he's going to be an Olympian. And I asked him, I said, well, how did you come to that conclusion? And he said, well, a voice, like an inner voice. I listened to my inner voice. And it's just an example of this, but I ask my guests, just like we're talking about the quantum leaps that we're making in life, right? And if you break down a quantum leap, I've had multiple. There are steps to a quantum leap. Like, you know, the first step is you have a vision or you have a voice or something that is driving you in a certain direction. Then there is the identity shift that needs to happen, the embodiment. And then, of course, taking unreasonable action, unreasonable based on your current identity or what other people think. And as I'm breaking down these steps with my guests or talk about them, I actually had a recent realization. I mean, it's not going to blow your mind. Like, we knew this already, but I didn't realize how it is an element of every single quantum leap, which is just what you brought up with your mom, which is the fact that every single guest or anyone I've talked to that has had a quantum leap of some sort, like a parallel life switch, like I'm going to jump from this lane to this other lane. Every single time they have had somebody in their life that has told them not to do that is the dumbest idea. Like every single, it's almost like it's an indication. If you have people, and especially people that love you and they care about you. So it has nothing to do with the person. It has to do with the consciousness of the world. They're just speaking the consciousness of the world to you.
It's collective consciousness. Yeah.
Collective consciousness. Yeah. And so if you have that, if you're listening and you have that, I'm sure we can come up with so many different examples of this, where people will go, oh, no, don't do that. That's a bad idea. I would say, like now I feel so strongly that now you're on the verge of a quantum leap if you do take that unreasonable action and go or sign up for the thing or do the travel or get married or get divorced. Yeah. And what I notice is people will come back as a result of you stepping into your higher self, as a result of you doing the thing. Yeah. I have a great example of this. When I first told my dad I was getting divorced, he was very disappointed. And and I was actually very upset because he didn't ask me about the dynamic of why I wanted to get divorced or what I was experiencing. Maybe he was beating me up. He wasn't. But that conversation never happened. It was more his expression of he's disappointed. What's going to happen to my kids? You know, we have the 2 boys together. And I didn't talk to my dad for a while. And then eventually we reconnected. Yeah. And we had a conversation. And he understood where I was coming from, and he apologized and said, okay, like, he's old school. He's like, stay married, get married. And he had been married to my mom for 40 some years at that point. And fast forward, I went through with the divorce, and about a year later, my dad calls me up and says he wants to get divorced from my mom. And they'd been together for those many years. Yeah.
He had fear.
Yes. And not the best relationship with my parents. Like my sister and I used to talk about how they really shouldn't be married. But he didn't have that inspiration to do that, and not to like put myself on the shelf and say, I was in place of inspiration.
But you were, but he saw his baby girl.
But he
take a leap of faith.
Take a leap of faith, while other people told me it was the dumbest thing I could be doing, because again, there was no abuse or no like major thing going on. He wasn't cheating on me or anything like that. But once I stepped into what I knew was the truth for me, and he saw that everything was okay, was more than okay, and I was able to quantum leap, he was inspired by that. And so now, full story, he got divorced from my mom. My mom no longer talks to me. I never talked to my dad into getting divorced. He was just perceiving what was happening and made the decision. And now I'm reconnecting with my mom and making sure that I'm, I do what I can do in that relationship. Yeah. But now my dad is divorced from my mom, left that relationship, and lives.
How's he doing?
He's good. He's when I bought this house, part of my vision was I wanted like a little in-law unit or something with a separate entrance, which downstairs from here. Because if my dad ever wanted to live with me, then he could. And now he lives.
Is he here?
He's not here right now, but he lives down. Yeah, he's in Iran right now, but
I love it.
So the full story of the quantum leap and recognizing when people say, "Don't do that. This is the wrong decision," and the old version of me, not the version of me that told my dad I want a divorce, but the version right before that, would have actually paused and not gotten a divorce.
Now I understand more what you mean when you say quantum leap. I resonate with it now. I would not have resonated with it 4 years ago because of what I told you, like whatever is happening to me, it's happening at the right time, actually.
Yeah.
I'm gonna, how do I say this? I think it's hard for people who haven't gone through or don't have the awareness that I suspect you have and that I know that I have, to realize that they are in more control of their life than they think. So when you say quantum leap, I was talking to somebody about this yesterday. I said, we have the ability to create our own reality. We do. It comes with a decision. A non-decision is a decision. A decision, right?
Yeah.
If you walk out of your house and you walk to the left and your neighbor John is outside, you're going to have a conversation with John. John is a lawyer. He's got a box at LA Stadium, and John invites you to LA Stadium to go to the game. Okay, the decision to go left created that reality. If you go right, Angie's outside. Angie's like, hey, I'm going to go surfing. Do you want to come surfing with me? And you guys drive to go surfing, and she gets a flat tire, and you're by the side of the road all day, and it's just a horrible day. Yeah. That decision created that reality. And when you say quantum leap, when we talk about what your dad did, or let's say my decision to go to Turkey that time, if you take the decision, and this is what I know better now, you take the decision and you don't worry about the outcome. You do it without concern for what you have a general desire. Sure. But just roll with it and just see where life takes you. And every time, if you just allow the resistance to just kind of like dissipate and drop off, this new, what I'm going to use your terminology, this quantum leap that you're taking is going to change your life. Totally. But this goes back to 20, 30 years formal education, right? We're taught that there's one answer for everything. 2 + 2 is 2. Not really. 2 + 2 is 4, but 2 + 2 is 4 in this area. Right. It could very well be 5 in some other thing. I have no idea. We just made these human definitions about what life is and stuff. If people could recognize their God, source, universe given right to make a decision and just see where their life will go, it would change everything. But again, folks are so concerned about the opinions of peers, neighbors, coworkers, and family. Totally. They get so freaked out about making a decision. And here's the other thing I'll say. It's a skill set. What you've sensed now, I'm saying this in reflection, but what you have sensed of my journey is my not giving a shitness about making a decision. That's what I was good at. It's not that I was like the best real estate investor or the best traveler. I was just, no, I'm just going to do it and just see what happens. Yeah. And I recognize now that it's actually a skill set to be able to, you and I talk. You're like, yeah, I'll come to Cali. Without even thinking twice. I don't even, if I feel like it's going to be aligned with who I am or it's a yes. Whatever the next quantum thing I want to do, immediate yes. And I will find a way to do it whatsoever. I don't care about people's, and actually my boy was at my house yesterday. He's like, man, you just got here. Why are you going? Like, take a break. I was like, take a break from what? No, that's good stuff is going to happen from this. Well, what do you think is going to happen? Doesn't matter. I'm going. Yeah. You know what I mean? Same way I got to get to my kids swimming. I want to be there. Like, great things are going to happen. It's the next leap that I'm going to take. Yeah. People have to learn to make decisions, one, without worrying about people's opinions, and two, without worrying about the outcome. And just life just blossoms.
Totally. Yeah. And I think the speed of implementation, like the speed with which you say yes is also important, because you don't say yes immediately. There are thousands of other reasons why you shouldn't do it.
And if you say yes immediately, or no, whatever your decision, if you go with the instinctive thing that comes to your mind, it's 99.9% of the time it's the right thing for you. Not comparatively, but for you, 99.9% of the time. You know when people don't take the instinctive decision? When they turn on CNN and CNN says, don't go there. Or, nah, man, you shouldn't do that because that's not what black dudes do, Maurice. Black dudes don't roll to Turkey to read a book for 2 days and come back. That's not what Haitian dudes do, Maurice. Haitian people don't live in Lebanon. Here's an even better one. Quattro Capital, I think we're like 250 million in real estate. And someone's like, you can take that to $1 billion. I'm like, no, I'm done. Well, what do you mean you're done? You're not buying real estate no more? No. Why? I don't need any more.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can run it to $1 billion. That's not what real estate investors do. You grow. I'm like, how much more do I need to be happy to plug in? But people are allowing other people's input to drive so much of what they do when you have this guidance system right within you. It's right there. It will tell you exactly. Now, if there's people you trust, like if I trust Nona, I'm hitting you up. I'm like, hey, Nona. But people outside of your sphere who have no perception.
Yeah.
They have no idea your perspective. They're giving you all this guidance and you're just following it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that blocking of other people's perception, like Danielle and I, we just got engaged. I don't know if you know this.
Congrats.
Yes,
No, I didn't know.
Thank
Congrats,
you.
yeah.
And so we're going to get married at some point, and we both have kids. One, I have 2 here and he's got the one over there, and we're going back and forth, and there's so much.
Oh my God, the noise.
Can you imagine the amount of noise? And we've had to learn how to kind of create this energetic bubble where it's like, we talk about it and this is what we want. And we don't know how it's are you guys gonna move to Italy? Are you guys gonna move to we don't.
I don't know.
Yeah. What I do know is I love being engaged to him right now. What I do know is we're gonna have this life together. But I don't know of how things are gonna pan out, and I'm okay with that. I want to address something that you said earlier. It's about the decisions, right? Yeah. So like you're right. You make this decision, you go right, you make a left decision. There's another layer, I feel like, to this. But if you think of the energetics of things, right? Like when you walked into the room, and you already talked about this, you were like, I'm going to go and it's going to be great. So
By the way, I got that from you, by the way, just so you know.
You did?
Yeah. I didn't mean to cut you off, but when I was at your thing in New Orleans, when you kept saying the word energetics, I wasn't tying, at the time I was reading Joseph Murphy's Power of Subconscious Mind.
Yes.
And it doesn't really talk about energy. And then I found Abraham Hicks, and she talks a lot about energy. And I'm like, this is what Nona was talking about.
Yeah.
So anyways, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I got energetics from you.
Well, it's funny. You walked into the house and you said the energy in the room.
I could feel it. I because sometimes if I go places and I walk in, I'm like, nah, this ain't the.
I'm leaving.
I'm out.
Bye.
I don't, for real. I don't want to be in it at all.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. And I do. And the power to pause and go, what is the energy? What do I want to experience? And then the decision to leave, no matter how it might influence other people, which I believe if you do the right thing for yourself, it's always the right thing for other people anyways. So, but that is muscle to be worked out. That is a muscle.
Time. I'm getting better, but I'm early in the game on that level. I'm on that one thing. I'm early in the game, but it was because you said that in New Orleans. I never forgot that. My subconscious picked up what you said
clearly,
and then I was like, I was reading that. I was listening to something, Abraham Hicks or something, Law of Attraction. Yeah. I was like, energy. Then I looked at the emotions chart.
David Hawkins.
Yes, David Hawkins' emotions, and then. Relative to, we'll get back to the decision thing, but relative, because I feel like
it's all in the same conversation.
Yeah, relative to, let's say that relationship I was telling you about, I needed to do something, and my energy level was down in like fear and
desire.
Yes.
Desire is right between fear and disappointment, I think.
So, yes, I didn't get it, man. Now, if you...
We're just getting started.
I didn't get it, and I needed to get my butt up to courage and make some statements about it and cut some people off and do certain things and stuff. But energy plays such a role. It plays such a role in this whole thing. So even coming out here, I'm like, no, that feels right. I'm going.
This is the right energy.
Yeah. That feels right. Anyway, so.
Yeah, but this is all the same conversation. So to wrap up the piece you just brought up about desire, like the desire, I want this house, I want this money, I want this relationship. You're actually showing up, and all you're putting out there in your energetic field, which, by the way, there's tons of research in that. All you're putting out in your energetic field is, I don't have these things. It's lack and scarcity.
But Nona, so my, I'm thinking to myself, like, again, I told you I did all that stuff on my journey, which is very admirable. I don't know.
Absolutely.
But I did all that stuff on my journey, which is very cool, and that's fine. And I'm grateful. But who would have knew about, if I desire something, what you're actually putting out into the universe is lack. I didn't know that. I didn't know that at all. And I would go back to think about things. Yeah, because every time I would desire something, I would actually push it away from me.
Yeah. Or you'd have to work so hard in the 3D world to make it happen.
You're paddling upstream.
Yeah.
But if you can change your energetics about it, you can get your butt up to courage.
Yeah.
Make a choice.
Yeah.
Call the person. Do something. Get on the plane. I don't know if we're going to have a great time today. We are. But you do it without worry about the outcome. But I guess what I was getting at when I was being a little bit funny was like, who knew?
Right.
Who's going to know? And I think this is what the universe does. I think this is what God does, or source does, or whatever people don't or do believe in.
Yeah.
It takes you on a journey, and it gives you certain opportunities to wake up even more from your deep sleep. I'm telling you, I was always a good person. My father raised me well. My mom and my dad raised me well. But I've been asleep for a very long time. Not a little bit. A lot. Like very, very deep sleep. And I started to wake up 3 years ago. And then I started tying all the pieces together. All right, you did all those things. How'd you do that if you weren't working with the universe? And now I was, but it was unconscious.
Yeah.
And now I've become conscious about it.
Yeah.
Which makes you even stronger.
Yes.
When you're aware. And then you start to understand energetics. And then you want to be around the right people. And then when you're around the right people, you don't want to be around the wrong people. So then your energy gets stronger. Then you mental diet. Then you control your environment by only being in places. For example, I want to be by the Mediterranean Sea. I like being in a foreign culture because they're not talking about anything socioeconomic, because I'm different. So all we talk about is wine, family, beautiful things. We talk about war every once in a while because that's legit, but we're just, what's happening to me is this bubble of love and humanity and business opportunity, and I'm doing 95% less than I've ever done.
Oh, yeah. Say that again.
I am doing 95% less than I've ever done. And in the world of Caesar, in the monetary world, I'm making 10 times more.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Mic drop. I'm telling you, like, okay, so I have a mastermind. You know about this? 1 week a month mastermind. And it's for entrepreneurs specifically. They come in and they're like, I am pushing, I'm doing the things, I'm making it happen. All extremely successful, exactly where I was a decade ago before I completely burnt out. And I have a story where I literally had my son, went into the closet, shut down the lights, and I cried and I sobbed for hours and hours until I made the recognition that what I had been doing was not going to work. And then I started to go, how can I do this in a juicy, easy, like freedom-based way, which is what, led to the path of figuring out the energetics. Yeah. And I realized desire had been my very dominant, frequency out in my energetic field was like, oh, this desire for the family, not to mention that it was like checking the boxes of the borrowed dream, right? Oh, I'm going to get married. I'm going to have kids. I'm going to go to school. I'm going to start a business, blah, blah, blah. And yet I'd been driving myself in the frequency of desire and really swimming in lack. Even though my bank account was full, even though I checked off all of those boxes, swimming in lack. And that's why I burnt out. And then I learned, if you talked about courage, if you move up just a couple up, you're in neutrality. You're already way better. Neutrality. Like, I don't almost like, you have empathy for the things that you're doing, but it's like, you're not seeking so much of what's about to happen. There's a trust in neutrality in the universe and the source and what you're going to experience. Still multiple levels up. And then I tapped into ease and freedom. And that's one thing I tell my entrepreneurs in the mastermind. It's like, to get to a level where you have that level of freedom and abundance and impact, you'll have to let go of the old identity that wants the things. It's such a counterintuitive process, but it makes sense.
They have to have grace for themselves, because I just keep going back to 20 to 30 years of formal education and family upbringing, which told us all those things.
Yeah.
We have to reprogram. We have to rewire. I interviewed a guy by the name, I never forget talking to him, Nelson Dellis. You might know him. He's a 6-time memory champion.
Oh, I do. Okay, yeah, I did.
He's part of our circle stuff. But Nelson, his grandmama passed from Alzheimer's.
Okay, I heard her story.
He didn't quite understand why her mind was affected, so he started on studying the mind, and then he rewired himself. He learned how to rewire himself, and now the guy can. If you put a 422 digit number in front of this guy, he'll study it for 10 minutes and then come back.
He remembers.
We are neuroplastic. We can change. We can go about things a different way. But by far the thing that has changed me, outside of that one incident 2.5, 3 years ago, the things that has changed me is learning that in the river of life, stop paddling upstream, drop the oar, just chill out, just let it take you. And now, I efforted my entire life, like, okay, 25 years executive at Accenture while being a midnight police officer. Like, I barely slept for 15 years. And then I'd be in between, like, I'd go handle a robbery call, lock the guy up or the girl up, then go to the station and work on real estate. And then, or in my car at 7-Eleven, I would work on real estate. And then, oh, there's a DUI in progress down the street. I got to go ahead. When I mean I was efforting, I was efforting. But this is what I meant by my comment about source, universe, God teaching you stuff. So then you can reflect and realize it. Oh, I get it. Because if we always have what we want, then we'll never know. We have to have what we don't want to know what we want. Yes. You have to go through the big stuff to understand the little stuff, and vice versa. So I think listen, I'm not religious, but I think I was put through all that to now go through this to help other entrepreneurs and single dads. And why can't a Haitian dude develop real estate in Cyprus and live in Beirut? Like, it's like giving permission to them. And I have credibility because of my story. And like, he doesn't care. Like, he just does stuff. So people see it from the superficial level. But what I'm actually trying to get to them is kind of what you teach, which is, no, there's energy behind this stuff. There's a difference between efforting and allowing. There is lack when it comes to desiring something. Then the moment you stop desiring, it just starts to attract itself to you. Like, shit just starts to show up for no reason. I'm doing nothing on the real estate side right now, but I cannot keep all the stuff away at all. I'll do 1 or 2 things here and there, but I can't keep it away. So it's just, if people can just wake up a little, or just get curious of what we're talking about. Do a little bit of research, and then the universe will kind of help things come along. That's what's happened to me. That's what's happened to me. I mean, I feel that, and I notice other people go through the same thing. I think the biggest thing that the universe is so intentional with is giving you contrast. Like, I was in a marriage that didn't feel connected. And there was nothing more that I wanted than deep connection, intimacy and connection with somebody. But I wouldn't have known that that's what I
would like to experience in life if I didn't have it so deeply the opposite way.
Yep.
There's that. And then, you know, there's the concept of like, I just want to make sure people understand this, because you're saying, you know, making the decision one way or another. And you're saying to let go and these opportunities will pop up. Here's the distinction I want to make. People will listen to this, be like, okay, let go. As a matter of fact, I have a tattoo that says trust. Right on. But if I'm going to trust, I'm not just trusting that everything is going to happen for me randomly. I have to trust that I'm also the creator. So I have to energetically, if I'm in the energy of scarcity, or if I'm in the energy of not enough, or things are not happening, or I want to make some, if I'm in that energy, then I am going to turn left and meet Susie, who is, I'm going to get stuck.
You still have to take action.
You still have to take action. You can't just sit in
your house and not do anything, not go anywhere. That's not what we're saying.
And if you're in the energy of abundance and freedom and joy, you're more likely to turn right and meet John, who's going to give you the tickets to go to play that game. So your energy literally also determines the experiences that come into your energetic field.
Yes. Which is why if I'm not at least higher on the frequency, I don't make decisions.
I teach that too. I
go to bed.
I prioritize my energy. Yeah. Meditate, visualize.
You gotta find, because we're humans. We have physiology. You cannot stay high vibration all the time.
Yeah.
But what the powerful thing is having awareness where you are and what is happening with you, you know? And actually, something just came to my mind. So you asked me, what was it when I was 15?
Yeah.
And now if we're talking about that chart, I just pieced something together. He wasn't in enlightenment, or he may very well have been, but
he was tapped in.
He was tapped in. I think it was joy. Enlightenment is at the top.
Yeah.
Last week, in Batroun, Lebanon. I was there and it was 80 degrees. Oh my God, this world is warming up. But it was 80 degrees. Most beautiful place on the water. Friends that I've known for 5 years showed up like randomly. So we all communed together and stuff. I had a little bit of I was studying, I was reading Neville Goddard.
Oh yeah.
I was reading Neville. And I was just marveling at where I was in the moment. And my friend Karina works there, and I was like, Karina, give me a bottle of wine. And she knows to put it in the freezer. So whenever I show up, they immediately put a bottle of wine in the freezer for me. And I was there from 11 to like 7:30. And I'm quietly, the big brother who's there and stuff, sitting in the corner. And then I went for a swim in the sea. It's like that fresh feeling. And I was like, I have enough money to be here. I don't need a lot. I was driving a Kia Picanto, which is like $19 a day.
Yeah.
But I was aware what was happening to me. And I knew so I was staying at this place down the street. I befriended this family and they let me use their little chalet. You walk out and you're in the water. So I'm happy when I'm on water. So I stayed up all night. I had more drinks. I stayed up all night, and I just was I think the 15-year-old was back.
You were in joy.
Oh, I didn't leave. I didn't close my eye till 5 a.m. I didn't want it to go away.
Yeah.
And those are the kinds of experiences that when people say, are you going on vacation?
Right.
And I'm like, I don't even know what that is.
Yeah.
You're just in a pure state of happiness and joy and plugged in, and things feel good, and then the universe is bringing wonderful people by you who share your value system and stuff like that. I just kind of made full circle. I think that's what 15-year-old me felt. And last week I had such strong feelings. I didn't even know I was sending videos to friends of mine. Like, I don't post much on social anymore, but friends of mine to share the moment.
Yeah.
I wasn't drunk or anything, but I was just having a day.
Yeah.
And I look back after and I'm like, I wasn't drunk. What is this? I was sharing because I wanted people to be a part of it. So this stuff is very real, very real for people.
You must have been up there because I do think you're right. Enlightenment, obviously at the top at 700, 1,000. I think joy might be the next one right after. So you're close. 2. You're practically close to God at that level, or universe, or whatever you want to call it. You're close to that higher self. And when you are in joy, when that's your energetic field, people that bring more joy will come. Experiences will come, and
they feel it from you too.
And your frame of perceiving the world is in joy. So no matter what happens, you're just got those joy glasses.
Which is why this was probably scheduled today, because Source wanted me to be able to speak it as an example to help people.
Beautiful.
It just all makes sense. I mean, I'm the master of my own world, so it makes sense to me. But I hope people spend time trying to figure this stuff out.
Yeah.
I really do, because life has gotten. I am 49, healthy as I've ever been. Happy as I've ever been. I have my moments.
Yeah.
But I'm just effing happy.
Yeah.
I don't got a better way to describe it. I'm just a happy dude.
I love that. Well, we got to leave enough time to take you to the beach and get all of that. So is there anything you want to share that we haven't touched on? I don't even know how long we went. This could be 2 episodes. We collapsed time.
I love it. You know that example I gave you about, I fly home on a Monday from the Mideast to take my kid to school. I know it seems crazy to people.
Not to me.
However, I know. I have this principle in my coaching. Life is something you practice. It's not a destination. We've been, the formal, I'm a proponent and believer in formal education. I am. My dad is a 30-year educator. My mama is 22 years guidance counselor. But the formal education system really did spit us out at the end in the worker mindset to express, do this and you'll get there. Yeah. There is no there. Life is this thing that you practice. You get better at it. The skill that I have to travel hack, just like you do, to get from the Mideast or go here, or like I'm here today and I know how to float right back. And I don't know, I didn't like some miles, some standby, like I do all these things. You practice the skill set. So all the things that we talked about today, there's no destination to it. It's skills that you practice over time. You get better at it. And as a result, your life journey quantum leaps. But even when you quantum leap, there's no destination. The whole thing, and I'll prove it. This is how I'll prove it. And this is not me, and I usually try to quote people, but I can't remember where I got this. I'm going to prove that the journey is what matters and not the destination. Okay. In the normal world, people take vacations. You start at your beautiful house. You take a vacation. You go to Hawaii. You have an amazing time with your friends, family, whatever, and you get on the plane. You go back to your house, and you're back where you started. Okay. If life was about the destination, then why did you even leave? Because you're right back to the destination. Which stands to reason that it's the journey. Because if it's a destination, you've already arrived you're at the destination. Why are you going to leave the destination? So it's just the journey. That's why I keep stressing to people, make your decisions and have no concern for the outcome. Because the fun of it is going through the airport today and running into people who I haven't seen in a minute. That's the fun of it. The fun of it, I've never been to this part of Cali. I'm not a West Coast dude, but now I get to experience it. The fun of it is running back to get to my kid's game, and he's going to be like, Dad, I don't know how you do what you do. Everyone's trying to get somewhere. Yeah. There's no there. It is just the journey. And then once you realize it's the journey and that you can take a lot of the skill sets we were just talking about and make them better, and your journey gets better and you get more intentional about it. And then you realize, stop efforting and just let go and let things happen beautifully. It gets nice. So I'm leaving people with life is something you practice. There's no destination. It's all bullshit.
Yeah.
We were told there's a destination. There's no there. Matter of fact, if you're waiting to age 65 to do something and get your 401k, the way you experience life in your 20s, 30s, and 40s is very different than what you're going to experience at 65.
Yeah.
So if you're going to spend 40 years in Cube land because you think you're going to have $2 million in a 401k to go then live life at 60.
Forget it.
Crazy. Hey, Maurice, you have money. I have money now. In my 20s, 30s, and early 40s, when I had nothing, and I didn't come from money. My family, we had a strong family, but we had nothing. I found ways to travel hack. I found ways to get on the bus. I found ways to play football, to go back to grad school to play football. I knew to live for some reason the entire time. Now, I just have resources to do it.
Yeah.
But I earned it along the way. But again, it's all to say is there's no destination.
Yeah.
It's just quantum leap now. Get good at the skills that take you to the next one, the next one, the next one. And you'll just understand that your job on this planet, Wayne Dyer, we are spiritual beings having a human existence. Your job is to be happy.
Yes.
That's the work. Is to find a way to be happy. I'll leave it at that.
Yes, mic drop. And that's why you got to try on life.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
You got to try it on.
You do. You got to try it on as much as we can because we got this one shot.
Yeah.
We got this one shot.
And some of my favorite people have this in common, and you included, is this hunger and understand, like coming face to face with your own mortality, like knowing that it's so limited to go out there and to try on life, which by the way, I know is your thing.
Yeah.
So we'll put the links in the show notes for everybody to be able to take a look. Is there any particular place that you want to send people to?
Just trylifeon.com. They can go there. Either there or LinkedIn. I left all the other socials and just in favor of more mental dieting and stuff like that. But yeah, and Maurice at trylifeon.com. I always talk to people that way. Yeah, that's it.
We'll put all of that in the show notes. So if anybody wants us driving, they can just click and get to you. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Honestly, thank you for letting me have the conversation. It's timely on my journey, but that's what universe does.
It's always like
unreal.
That. Yeah.
Unreal, but now I'm starting to see it as, no, it's just part of the journey.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Okay, you want to go check out Laguna Beach?
Let's go. Okay.
Thank you for tuning into the Unreasonable Life podcast. I hope that today's episode has inspired you to dream bigger, act bolder, and step into your own version of an unreasonable dream life. If you loved what you heard today, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who's ready to take their next bold leap. And I'd love to hear your thoughts and connect with you. You can follow me on Instagram and share your biggest takeaways from today's episode. And remember, the life that you want isn't unreachable. It's just unreasonable. Until next time, keep challenging the status quo, and I'll see you on the next episode of the Unreasonable Life podcast.